it's Allison, and this morning we're here with Bob Hayden of The Growth Coach, and we're going to talk a little bit about what he does and how you got started and how did you get started. It sounds like you started out Purdue in mechanical engineering.
Oh man, long story that you've gone way back. Yeah, background-wise, I started off as an engineer, but it was actually technology. I graduated from technology school at Purdue. Co-op for 2 years and then started with GM, which was the Allison Engine Company in 1990. That's been a long time. So, but 20 years later, same company, but yet Rolls-Royce. So I left Rolls-Royce in 2008 after 20 years. And that precipitated the start of my own consultancy. So I ended up running my own consultancy for about 3 years. That took me overseas. Lived in Australia for about 1.5 years, and then came back, worked for Cummins for 1.5 years, and then worked for another company called Quest Global downtown for open an engineering outsourcing office. Did that for 3 years until 2017. Restarted my own consultancy again, and then this is where coaching started to come in. So a lot of my consulting clients started to become coaching clients, and I noticed that transition starting to happen. And I really enjoyed the coaching. We would go and sit in an office just like this and start talking about leadership problems, transitions, how to enter new markets, those kind of things. And so it became much more of a one-on-one interaction than it was with an entire business unit or something like that.
Right.
And I just found I just really enjoyed it. And so first part of 2019, I just decided that's the direction I was going to go. Next thing I know, I'm buying a franchise. So that wasn't necessarily my plan, but it all fell into place. It made a lot of sense for me. Almost 1 year now, so it's been really good.
So for anybody who doesn't know what a coach does in a coaching session, what do you do?
A lot of this, it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of listening to the owner typically, or the leader, the leadership team. You are doing just, use the sports analogy of a coach, right? We're not an expert in their business. I'm not an expert in every business. I'm just not. What I'm an expert in is pulling things out of you that you normally wouldn't figure out on your own. And that takes a lot of listening, and you're getting to see something from an outside perspective that people on the inside just can't. It's a strange dynamic. It's just the way it works. Someone that actually works on the business, not in the business, which is, it's a catchy phrase, right? It sounds cliche, but if you can truly make that transition, and that's what we coach them to do, is help them make the transition from in to on.
So I love the fact that in your bio you said, someone's business is their baby, and sometimes you have to tell people that their baby is ugly.
Yes.
How does that conversation go?
Sometimes interesting, but I usually cover that pretty upfront in the relationship, right? Part of our role as an outside advisor is to look at things, and sometimes it's ugly. Because the owner typically is so invested in their business, right? And then for someone to come from the outside and kind of peer into that world and be, constructive criticism, challenging assumptions, challenging why they're in business, sometimes that can be pretty tense. But that's our role. The role is, do they want a sustainable, long-term, viable business, or do they want to love their business? Right? And sometimes those two don't go together. So part of our role was to really kind of break down a couple of things. One, why are they in business in the first place? And because there are times, maybe after 3 or 5 years of being in business, you kind of forget why you're in business in the first place, because you're so focused on growing and trying to just make it. And so our role was to move past that a little bit and say, okay, make sure that the why is still important and you know what the why is, but you also build a sustainable business. Because if you don't, it's not going to last. Failure rates of businesses haven't changed for decades. And so there's been pretty brutal statistics in terms of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Over 50% of businesses that start don't last 10 years.
So in light of all the events of COVID this year, what do you think that those statistics will look like now?
It's probably going to be pretty brutal in the short term, I think. I think, unfortunately, when the dust settles and the restrictions start to lift, there will be some doors that just don't open.
Yeah.
And you can already see it already, right? However, there's also good stories. A lot of my clients, all my clients are still alive, and we coach them to basically right now it's survival. Just figure out a way to survive, and then be prepared for the uptick.
What advice would you have for these businesses who maybe haven't seen you yet and say,
Oh, sure.
What do I do?
One, you do have to take time to plan, even though you don't know what the answer is. And so I get a lot of, how do you plan when you don't know what the rules are? So the piece of advice is pick how you're going to do business. It may be wrong, but it's better than not picking.
Right.
So right now it's much better to make short decisions and short-term decisions and keep progressing than it is to just stay still. You pick your lane, right? And then communicate. Probably the biggest thing is just communicate, over-communicate, both to your clients, your consumer, your team. Communicate.
Or do you take those extra hours that you would invest in your business and you put them into an e-commerce platform?
Absolutely. So this is where the pivots come. So we've spent the last 2 months talking about pivots. So a lot of pivots have gone on. Some of those pivots may not last after, whatever the new world is, but I think some of them will, and you can use it as a base for your business to then focus on, okay, what's the new part gonna look like? Your whole business model may change.
So what kind of clients do you usually see?
Usual clients. Wow. They actually vary across the board. I've got everything from nonprofits to retail establishments to manufacturing, to, product and service engineering, technical product and service engineering companies. So it really, in some ways, I'd say my core is maybe more technical services and products. Manufacturing and engineering firms, engineering service firms. But having said that, ever since buying the franchise last summer, I've definitely expanded beyond that. In the end, business is business. And even nonprofits, they don't sometimes view themselves as business, but they really should, because they still have the same. That's correct. Their sales may be a little different, but in the end, it's still a process. So I've got local clients, and I have national clients, and I have international clients.
So you have clients in Australia even?
I do. Yeah, she's a nonprofit she established a nonprofit for special education kids with disabilities. So she knew that specialty, but didn't quite know how to make a functioning entity and business out of it. And we've actually converted from a nonprofit to a for-profit. So we're in that process of doing that now.
So if people want to find you, how do they find you?
The Growth Coach, NorthIndy.com, right? So, or obviously the chamber, our information's in there. I'm on LinkedIn.
So Bob, as we finish up here today,
Sure.
What are the last kind of things that you want to touch on?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, we operate in a few different ways. One is I do run a CEO roundtable, Tuesdays at 10:30 on Zoom. So we've shifted that from in-person to Zoom, and we'll probably do that the rest of the year, just for honestly convenience and people's comfort, just like we've talked about. We also obviously do one-on-one coaching with owners or leadership teams, and then that leads into group coaching. So sometimes we'll actually coach both the owner along with their entire leadership team, either together or potentially even separate. So sometimes the owner needs some things just for themselves, and then sometimes the leadership team, both as a group and by themselves, need some development, and so we do that as well. So all those engagements are possible. The nice part is there is no fixed answer. Every client has different needs and wants and situations. So there is no what I'll call one size fits all, which I like. Honestly, I don't jam a client into a particular process. We start where they need to start, and then we kind of go from there. So, fair enough.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for joining us today. I'm glad we were able to chat and really explain what this is all about. And I'm certain there are people out there who would like to learn a little bit more about their business that they can't even see, because it's easy whenever you're in the middle of it to kind of be in the middle and not see what's going on in the periphery that would really impact business. And that's what a coach can do.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.